Alright, I'm just going to make a quick video showing what you can do on a budget to water cool your PC. This computer is nothing extravagant. It's an old Gen 3 i5 chip. It does everything I need to do, and that's it. That's its whole purpose. I had an all-in-one cooler that was going bad that I need to replace. Costs you about $100 to buy one of them. You can find them down to 60. But I figured for $100, why not try to build a custom water loop? I ended up spending around $130, and I'll pop the cover off and I'll show you what I got. Alright, so here it is. First thing you'll notice, clear tubing. That is in fact clear vinyl tubing that you can buy at a hardware store. People will tell you not to use it. I've used this once before with something else. I've had no problems with it. I had it in actually in this computer already on to replace the lines on the factory, or the all-in-one cooler, so I could run antifreeze in it so it wouldn't freeze in the winter out in the garage. And that was in there for a few months. No discoloration of the tubing, stayed flexible, so I don't see an issue. Also blue. That is blue automotive antifreeze with some blue dye added to darken it up. This thing sits in a garage in Minnesota. It gets cold. We're talking 15 below is kind of a mild. It can get down in the 20s and close to 30 below. So you don't want this freezing. My garage is a workshop. It's not always heated. I also do a podcast. But I don't need this freezing when the computer either isn't running or it gets so cold that there's not enough heat made by any of the components to keep the liquid warm. So we'll go through what I bought with my $130. Don't mind my shaky cam. An XSPC brand cooler, or pump and reservoir. Fits in one of your drive bays. It should light up in here. You should see it through this window. Blue liquid. But somebody put in a little too much blue dye and it made it too dark. Even after putting in a brighter LED, it still does not light up. But that does not affect how anything cools, so I'm not worried about it right now. You have one output from the pump. That output comes out and goes to a T. We'll get to that T in a little bit. But it comes out 3/8 inside diameter is what the tubing is. So it's 3/8 outside diameter barb fittings. That reservoir was about $68. I had to spend $20 on 8 fittings. Only 8 for $20. But there's no way of getting around that either. I wanted to buy a quality reservoir and pump. And the fittings were what they were. There's no cheap ones made. And then from there, it goes back to 120 millimeter radiator, where from there, it goes down to this cooler on the processor. And that cooler was about $18 on Amazon. It's a generic. You kind of got to figure out the best way to mount it yourself. When I first put it in and turned it on, it wouldn't even boot, wouldn't even post. I had over-tightened that cooler to the motherboard. The processor wasn't seated right. It wasn't reading the memory right. Nothing was working. So I had to loosen it all up, remount it, kind of redid it a little bit from what I originally had, and it booted up. It's been working perfect. Then it goes back to one of the ports going into the reservoir. Now the output, back to this T-fitting, there's a second loop in this setup. goes down to a second radiator on the front of the computer. Now this is the part of it that really wasn't needed with my cooler that was going bad, but I figured what the hell. This is from my original Antec all-in-one CPU cooler. So from this 3/8 line, it drops down to a 1/4 inch right before the radiator, because there's a 1/4 inch barb fitting built right onto the radiator. You can't change that on this one. Goes out of there to the video card. Just a basic, by today's standards, ain't worth a shit. It's a GTX 650, but it runs a video I need to run. And the fan on that was extremely loud, starting to rattle, and I didn't feel like buying a new card just for a loud fan. So I bought this little blue cooler block that you see the lines go to. They came as a pair, so I figured I'll mount the second one on the motherboard. I think it was around $12. I could be wrong, but it was under $15 for the pair. They work. I guess I can't say nothing bad about them. It keeps these components plenty cool. This video card never gets above 31 degrees, no matter what I'm doing. And when I do my podcast, I'll be broadcasting our video live on Facebook while playing a video and multiple windows open, running two screens, two monitors off of this card. This card also is processing the video that is going out over our live feed, and it doesn't break a sweat. It does everything I need to do, but like I said, these components do keep it cool. I would not trust them on a processor, especially if you have an overclocked processor. I would buy something, at least buy this generic thing that I did for my i5. It works great for me, I guess. I found a lot of good reviews about it, but I mean, for the price you pay, you really question what you're getting. But hey, it's working. So there it is. On a budget, $130. A custom, I don't know if you'd call it a single pump dual loop. I don't know. I don't think it's real common to do that T-fitting and split things off and use different diameter tubing, but I did it. It worked. I get plenty of flow going through the processor with the 3/8 tubing, and with the 1/4 inch, plenty of flow going through the other components, which I think the 1/4 inch line helps force more liquid through the CPU cooler. And what else? Oh, as far as keeping the processor cool, you want to run a stress test program, for a decent amount of time. Some people run it, turn it on, let it go 5 minutes and go, oh my god, this works great. You got to let the temperature of everything kind of equalize. Let everything circulate to really see what you're getting. And when I did that, I let it run for an hour and a half. Temperature on the processor never exceeded 45 degrees Celsius. I forget what the max is on this. I thought I read somewhere it was 105. That seems high to me, but I know 45 degrees Celsius is nowhere near its max, and that's at a full load for an hour and a half. Room temperature was about 70 degrees. So it's not like it's the middle of winter right now. It's springtime. It's getting warm. It's early summer. Yeah, that's about it. Hopefully somebody finds something useful out of this. If I have a leak, if I one of these weird pieces of tubing that I use, it's just vinyl tubing that everyone swears up and down you're not supposed to use. If I have a problem, I'll post a video, obviously recorded on something else, not this computer, of the damage and update this. But like I said, I've used this tubing before on the cooler that was in here, and I had zero issues. So if you want to try something on a budget, it's possible. I did it. So like the video. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down. Write a comment telling me how much I suck. It would be greatly appreciated.